Sanatorium janitor unveils secret and calls the police. In an old sanatorium on the edge of town, worked Clara, a dedicated and caring janitor. With her attentive eyes and gentle heart, Clara treated all the inmates with respect and care. She knew every dark corridor, every abandoned room, and every peculiar sound the building made during the night. However, there was one wing that always gave her chills: the elderly wing. Among the elderly patients, there was a man named Mr. Antonio. He was quiet and rarely spoke, but his eyes told a story of pain and suffering. Clara always tried to talk to him, but he only watched her with a vacant look, as if he was imprisoned in his own world. One night, while Clara was cleaning the hallway of the elderly wing, she heard a faint whisper coming from Mr. Antonio's room. Intrigued, she slowly approached and entered the room. "Mr. Antonio, is everything all right?" she asked softly. The old man looked at her, his eyes filled with fear and sadness. He began to speak, his voice trembling with each word. "Clara, I need to tell you something. Something that happened many years ago. Something terrible." Clara felt a chill run down her spine. She sat down next to Antonio's bed, holding his trembling hand. "Tell me, Mr. Antonio. I'm here to listen." He began to reveal a dark story about a murder he had witnessed when he was young. The crime, which happened decades ago, was never solved, and the culprit was never caught. Mr. Antonio knew the identity of the murderer, but he was threatened and forced to keep silent his entire life. As the years passed, guilt and fear consumed his mind, leaving him trapped in his own nightmares. "He's out there, Clara. He's still out there. And he knows that I know." Clara, with her heart racing and hands sweating, knew she needed to do something. Mr. Antonio's story was terrible and needed to be investigated. She couldn't ignore his words. "Mr. Antonio, I will call the police. They need to know about this." He squeezed her hand tightly, his eyes pleading for help. "Please, Clara, do it quickly." Clara left the room and ran to the staff room, where she picked up the phone and dialed the police. Within minutes, officers were at the sanatorium, ready to hear Mr. Antonio's story. Clara led the officers to the room and stayed by Antonio's side as he recounted his story once more. The tension in the sanatorium was palpable. The police, intrigued and serious, began asking detailed questions. "Mr. Antonio, can you tell us the name of the man you saw commit the murder?" asked Detective Carlos. "Yes. His name was Roberto. I saw him with my own eyes. He had a knife, and there was so much blood." Mr. Antonio answered with a trembling voice. "Roberto!" Clara exclaimed. "We have a nurse here with that name. He works in the psychiatric ward." The officers exchanged glances, a sense of urgency growing. "We need to speak with this Roberto immediately," said Detective Carlos. Clara led the officers to the psychiatric ward. Nurse Roberto was in the middle of his shift, helping another patient. "Roberto, we need to talk," the detective said firmly. Roberto looked at them with a confused expression that quickly turned to panic. I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered, trying to back away. "You are under arrest for suspicion of murder," announced Detective Carlos, handcuffing Roberto. "This is a mistake. I didn't do anything," Roberto protested as he was led away. Clara returned to Mr. Antonio's room, trying to comfort him. "Everything will be all right, Mr. Antonio. They will investigate and find the truth," she said gently. In the following days, the police conducted a thorough investigation. They found evidence linking Roberto to an unsolved crime from decades ago. He was finally arrested and convicted, bringing a sense of long-awaited justice to Mr. Antonio. But the story didn't end there. Clara was called to the office of the sanatorium director. "Clara, your courage and determination brought justice to one of our patients. We want to reward you," said the director. "I just did what was right," Clara responded humbly. "Even so, we would like to offer you a promotion. You have a heart of gold, and we want you to be the new head of patient care." Clara accepted the promotion with gratitude, but she knew her true reward was the peace she brought to Mr. Antonio. Days later, Clara visited Mr. Antonio again. "Mr. Antonio, Roberto has been convicted. You are safe now, she said softly. Thank you, Clara. I never thought I would live to see this day, he responded with tears in his eyes. A week later, Clara had a conversation with Detective Carlos. Detective, thank you for believing in Mr. Antonio's story, said Clara. It was our duty. Without you, we might never have solved this case, the detective responded. During a lunch with her colleagues, Clara was praised for her bravery. Clara, you are an example to all of us. We are proud of you, said her colleague Maria. Thank you, Maria. I did what anyone would do, Clara replied with a smile. Clara, in a visit to the courthouse, met Roberto for the last time before his sentencing. Roberto, why did you do it? Clara asked, looking into his eyes. I don't know, Clara. I think I was lost, he responded, looking down. In the sanatorium, Clara talked to the director about improving patient security. We need to make sure nothing like this happens again, Clara said. I agree, Clara. Your suggestions are welcome, responded the director. Years passed, and Clara became a respected figure in the sanatorium. In a special ceremony, she was recognized for her dedication and courage. Clara, your story has taught us about the importance of listening and acting with compassion. You not only brought justice to Mr. Antonio but also inspired all of us to be better, said the director in his speech. Clara smiled, feeling grateful for making a difference. I have learned that sometimes a simple act of kindness can change lives. We all have the power to make a difference, we just need the courage to act, Clara said to the audience. Like, comment, and share this thrilling story. Subscribe to our channel for more breathtaking tales. Your feedback is very important to us.